What you're about to witness might be the most disrespectful moment in WWE history. And honestly, I'm not sure Brock Lesnar is wrong. Before you lose your minds in the comments, hear me out. Because what went down between the Beast Incarnate and NXT's so-called next big thing, Oba Femi, has exposed something that nobody in the wrestling community wants to admit. And trust me, by the end of this video, you're either going to be furiously typing in the comments defending Oba, or you're going to realize that Brock just delivered the most brutal reality check this industry has seen in years. I'm talking about a confrontation so raw, so unfiltered, that WWE executives reportedly held an emergency meeting about whether it should even air. Spoiler alert, it did. And the fallout? Absolutely nuclear. This is WrestleScope, and today we're diving deep into why Brock Lesnar's 4 words might have just ended Oba Femi's main roster dreams before they even started. But first, if you're ready for the real story behind wrestling's biggest moments, hit that subscribe button and smash the notification bell, because what I'm about to reveal is going to change how you see both of these superstars forever. Let me set the scene for you. It's Monday Night Raw, post-show dark segment. The cameras are supposed to be off. Oba Femi, fresh off his absolutely dominant NXT championship reign, is backstage doing a promo package for his upcoming main roster debut. The guy's been on fire, right? Undefeated for months, decimating everyone NXT threw at him, looking like an absolute monster. And then Brock Lesnar walks by. Now here's where it gets interesting. According to multiple sources who were there, Oba, full of confidence, decides this is his moment. He steps up to Brock, extends his hand for a show of respect, and says something along the lines of, "I'm ready to carry the torch you lit." The torch. He lit. Let that sink in for a second. Brock stops dead in his tracks, doesn't even look at Oba's hand. The temperature in the hallway reportedly dropped about 30 degrees. People who were there said you could cut the tension with a knife. Paul Heyman, who was walking with Brock, immediately got that oh no look on his face, the one we've seen right before Brock decides to suplex someone through the Earth's core. And then Brock spoke, 4 words that have since become the most controversial statement in wrestling this year. "You're not my level." Just like that. Cold, direct, brutal. Then he walked away like Oba Femi didn't even exist. But here's the insane part. The cameras that were supposed to be off, one was still rolling, and somehow that footage leaked. Within hours, it was everywhere. Twitter exploded, Reddit went into meltdown, wrestling journalists couldn't type fast enough. The wrestling world split into 2 camps immediately. Team Brock, who said he was keeping it real and that Oba needed to earn his respect, and Team Oba, who claimed Brock was a bitter veteran trying to bury the next generation. But nobody, and I mean nobody, is asking the question that actually matters. Was Brock Lesnar right? Let's talk facts, people. Cold, hard, undeniable facts. Brock Lesnar didn't just become a WWE superstar. He became the WWE superstar. Multiple-time WWE champion, Universal champion, the man who conquered The Undertaker's WrestleMania streak, NCAA Division I heavyweight wrestling champion, UFC heavyweight champion. Read that list again. This man isn't just a pro wrestler. He's a legitimate combat sports athlete who chose to grace WWE with his presence. When Brock Lesnar says "you're not my level," he's not just talking trash. He's stating an objective reality based on a resume that might never be matched in professional wrestling history. Think about Brock's debut. He came into WWE in 2002, and within 4 months, he was WWE champion. Not NXT champion, not Intercontinental champion, WWE champion. At 25 years old, he became the youngest WWE champion in history at the time. He wasn't handed this. He demolished The Rock, one of the biggest stars in the company's history, at SummerSlam to win it. Compare that to Oba Femi's trajectory. Sure, he's been dominant in NXT, but NXT is the developmental brand. It's literally designed to prepare talent for the main roster. Being a big fish in a small pond doesn't make you ready for the ocean, and the main roster is the Pacific Ocean compared to NXT's swimming pool. Brock's point, whether he meant it this harshly or not, is valid. Oba hasn't proven himself on the biggest stage yet. He hasn't had a WrestleMania moment. He hasn't carried a pay-per-view on his shoulders. He hasn't been in the ring with a Roman Reigns, a John Cena, or a Goldberg when millions of eyes are watching, and one wrong move means your push is dead in the water. And let's be brutally honest about something else. The comparison between their physical capabilities? It's not even close. Brock Lesnar is a freak of nature. The man can do a shooting star press at 290 pounds. He's thrown Big Show around like a rag doll. He's legitimately one of the strongest human beings to ever step in a WWE ring. His combination of size, speed, agility, and legitimate fighting ability is unprecedented. Oba Femi is impressive, no doubt. He's got the size, he's got presence, and he's shown incredible improvement in his NXT run. But has he done anything that makes you think he could hang with prime Brock Lesnar in any capacity?
In a real fight, forget about it. In a wrestling match, the experience gap is Grand Canyon wide. Here's something that's going to make some of you angry, but it needs to be said. Oba Femi's biggest accomplishment is beating guys in NXT who either haven't made it to the main roster or failed when they got there. Think about that. His signature wins are against developmental talent. Brock's signature wins are against the Mount Rushmore of professional wrestling. There are levels to this business, and Brock exists on a level that maybe 5 or 6 people in WWE history have ever reached. The disrespect came from Oba thinking he could just walk up to Brock Lesnar and talk about carrying torches when he hasn't even held the torch yet. In Brock's world, you earn respect through accomplishments, not potential, and from where Brock sits, looking down from the mountaintop of wrestling achievement, Oba Femi is still in base camp. Was it harsh? Absolutely. Was it uncalled for? Maybe. Was it true? That's the question that has everyone arguing. But hold on, before you start typing Brock is right in the comments, let's pump the brakes and look at the other side of this, because there's a strong case to be made that Brock Lesnar just showed why veterans sometimes become obstacles instead of mentors. Oba Femi isn't some random guy who got lucky in NXT. Let me lay out his resume, because I think a lot of main roster only fans are sleeping on what this man has accomplished. In his NXT North American Championship reign, Oba Femi held that title for 281 days. That's not a short reign, that's domination. He defended it successfully against everyone they put in front of him. We're talking about guys like Dijak, Joe Coffey, and multiple other legitimate talents who've made names for themselves. But here's what's more impressive, the way he won. Oba Femi didn't win matches by countout or disqualification or shenanigans, he straight up destroyed people. His matches often ended in under 10 minutes because his opponents simply couldn't handle his power and intensity. That's not luck, that's being that good. And let's address the elephant in the room. The comparison to Brock's early career is actually more favorable to Oba than people want to admit. When Brock debuted on the main roster, he had Paul Heyman as his mouthpiece because, and let's be honest here, Brock wasn't great on the mic. He needed Heyman to do his talking. Oba Femi, the man cuts his own promos and they're legitimately intimidating. His presence is natural. His confidence is earned, not manufactured. Furthermore, the NXT that Oba dominated is not the same NXT that existed in 2002. Today's NXT features some of the best athletes in the world. These aren't just developmental talent learning to work. They're independent wrestling stars, international phenoms, and legitimate fighters who chose WWE. Beating them consistently means something. But here's the real issue with what Brock did, and this is what's so many people furious. Veterans tearing down the next generation publicly doesn't help the business. Wrestling survives because new stars are created. Hulk Hogan passed the torch to Stone Cold and The Rock. They passed it to John Cena. Cena put up guys like Roman Reigns. This is how the industry works. When a veteran publicly buries a rising star, even if that veteran is Brock Lesnar, it damages the business. What if Stone Cold had told The Rock, "You're not my level," when Rocky was trying to break through? What if Undertaker refused to put over Brock at WrestleMania because he didn't think Brock had earned it yet? The business would have suffered. Oba approaching Brock with respect wasn't arrogance, it was showing honor to a legend. The carry the torch comment wasn't disrespectful, it was acknowledging that Brock is a legend and that Oba wants to continue the legacy of dominant athletic monsters in WWE. How is that offensive? And let's talk about that level comment. Brock Lesnar hasn't been a full-time wrestler in years. He shows up a handful of times a year, collects a massive paycheck, and leaves. Meanwhile, Oba has been grinding week after week, show after show, building his character and his in-ring skills. Who's really more invested in the business right now? The part-timer who phones it in for Saudi Arabia paychecks, or the hungry young talent who's shown up every single week to carry the developmental brand? I can hear the Brock defenders screaming already, but this is a legitimate point. Brock earned the right to be a special attraction, sure, but that doesn't give him the right to disrespect someone who's working their tail off to reach his level. The phrase, "you're not my level," implies Oba could never reach that level. That's not motivation, that's assassination. There's a difference between tough love and trying to end someone's career before it starts. And here's a spicy take. Maybe Brock felt threatened. Maybe seeing a younger, hungrier version of himself in Oba Femi made him realize his time is limited. Maybe this wasn't about Oba not being on Brock's level. Maybe it was about Brock being scared that Oba will reach his level sooner than anyone expects. So what happened after the footage leaked? Complete chaos. Within 24 hours, the video had been viewed over 15 million views across all platforms. Wrestling news sites crashed from the traffic. Every wrestling podcast, YouTube channel, and social media personality had an opinion. This wasn't just a story, it was the story. WWE's initial response was damage control. They claimed the footage was unauthorized and tried to get it taken down from various platforms. But let's be real, once something goes viral in 2024, it's not going away. The internet is forever. Behind the scenes, reports started coming out, and this is where it gets really interesting. According to insiders, there were two very different reactions from WWE management. On one side, you had the old school contingent, guys who came up in the territorial days and the Attitude Era. They reportedly sided with Brock, saying wrestling needs more of this real energy, that the business has become too soft, too scripted, too fake. One unnamed WWE Hall of Famer allegedly said, "If Oba can't handle Brock's words, how's he going to handle being booed by 70,000 people?" On the other side, you had Triple H and the people running the creative direction of modern WWE. They were reportedly furious, not at Brock specifically, but at the situation. They've spent years years building up NXT as a legitimate brand, and having one of their champions embarrassed by a part-timer undermines everything they're trying to accomplish. There were even rumors that Triple H personally called Brock to discuss the incident, though both sides have denied this publicly. But given how protective Hunter is of his NXT creations, it wouldn't surprise me at all if he went about for Oba. Then came the social media reactions from current and former wrestlers, and oh boy, this is where it got spicy. Several WWE superstars subtweeted about the incident without naming names. One post said, "Real legends build the next generation, they don't tear them down." Another said, "Some people forget they were young and hungry once too." But the most telling response came from Paul Heyman. When asked about it in an interview, Heyman, in his typical genius way, didn't deny anything, but reframed the narrative. He said something like, "Brock Lesnar has never been in the business of giving participation trophies. If you want his respect, you take it, you don't ask for it." That quote went viral too, and suddenly the conversation shifted from, "Was Brock wrong?" to, "Does Oba need to prove himself more before demanding respect from legends?" But Oba Femi himself stayed mostly silent on social media, which was actually the smartest play he could have made. Instead of responding emotionally or getting into a Twitter war, he posted one simple message: "Actions speak louder than words. See you on the main roster." That composure, that confidence, that refusal to get dragged into the drama, that actually earned him a lot of respect from fans who were on the fence. It showed maturity that many young wrestlers don't have. But WWE had a decision to make. How do they handle this creatively?
And here's where it gets fascinating. Instead of sweeping it under the rug, they decided to lean into it. Reports started circulating that WWE was planning to turn this real-life tension into a storyline. The idea being pitched was that Oba Femi's main roster debut would directly involve Brock Lesnar. They would either team up in some capacity to build mutual respect, or they would eventually face each other in a dream match that the entire wrestling world would be talking about. Imagine the moment. Oba's debut, he's cutting a promo about being the future, and suddenly Brock's music hits. The place would come unglued. That's money. That's a WrestleMania program potentially. But there's a risk too. If WWE books Brock to just annihilate Oba, it confirms Brock's statement and potentially damages Oba's career before it really begins. If they book Oba to look competitive or, God forbid, beat Brock, the old school fans will revolt and claim WWE is sacrificing their legends to push unproven talent. It's a tightrope walk, and honestly, I'm not sure there's a perfect solution. But let's zoom out for a second, because this incident represents something much bigger than just two wrestlers having a confrontation backstage. This is about the fundamental tension that exists in professional wrestling right now, tradition versus evolution. Brock Lesnar represents the old school mentality. Pay your dues, earn your spot. Respect isn't given, it's taken. Don't shake someone's hand until they've proven they belong in the same ring as you. This is the mentality that built wrestling for decades. It's the reason we have legends, because getting to the top meant surviving a gauntlet of veterans who wouldn't just hand you success. Oba Femi represents the new school approach. Train hard, show respect to those who came before, but be confident in your own abilities. Believe in yourself even before the world believes in you. This generation doesn't think they need to wait 15 years to have an opinion or to believe they're stars. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Both sides have valid points. The old school guys aren't wrong when they say that confidence without accomplishment is just arrogance. How many next big things have we seen fail because they believed their own hype before they'd actually done anything at the highest level? Remember when people said Ryback was going to be the next Goldberg? Remember when Mason Ryan was supposed to be the next Batista? Potential means nothing without execution. But the new school isn't wrong either when they point out that times have changed. The wrestling business is different now. Social media, streaming, global audiences, wrestling is more accessible and more competitive than ever. If you wait for permission to be a star, someone else will take that spot while you're waiting. This Brock versus Oba situation is a microcosm of this larger debate happening throughout the entire industry. Look at AEW. Tony Khan pushes young talent immediately, sometimes before they're ready, because he believes in giving them the ball and seeing what they do with it. Sometimes it works brilliantly, like with MJF or Jungle Boy in his prime. Sometimes it backfires, like with wrestlers who got huge pushes but couldn't handle the pressure. WWE under Triple H has been trying to find a middle ground. They're building stars in NXT, giving them time to develop, but then expecting them to be ready to contribute immediately when they hit the main roster. No more of this silly gimmick and see if they can get over nonsense. If you're called up now, it's because WWE believes you're ready to be a player. But then you have guys like Brock, legends who came up in a completely different era, who see these new stars and think, you haven't earned what I earned, so don't act like we're equals. Is that gatekeeping? Is that protecting the business? Is that both? These are the questions we need to be asking. And here's something that's going to make this even more complicated: generational differences in how respect is viewed.
Older generations, including Brock's generation, believed respect was earned through a specific set of criteria: years in the business, main event matches, drawing power, championships. It was a checklist. Until you checked those boxes, you weren't on their level. Younger generations believe respect should be given based on work ethic, improvement, and potential, not just past accomplishments. They think the old guard should be supporting them, not making them jump through arbitrary hoops. Neither is objectively right or wrong. They're just different value systems. But in wrestling, where your spot on the card literally determines your income and your legacy, these philosophical differences become battles. And that's what we witnessed with Brock and Oba. Okay, let me give you my take, and I know this is going to upset people on both sides. I think Brock Lesnar was right in principle, but wrong in execution. Here's what I mean. Brock's core point that Oba Femi hasn't accomplished what he has accomplished is objectively true. There's no debate there. Oba is not on Brock's level in terms of achievements, drawing power, or proven main roster success. That's just facts. Where Brock went wrong is in how he delivered that message and when he chose to deliver it. If Brock had pulled Oba aside privately and said, "Listen, kid, I respect what you've done in NXT, but talking about carrying my torch is premature. Go out there, make an impact on the main roster, and then we'll talk." That would have been mentor energy. That would have been a veteran giving tough love advice that helps a young star understand what's expected of them. Instead, Brock chose to publicly embarrass Oba, refusing to even shake his hand, dismissing him with a cold one-liner designed to make him feel small. That's not mentorship, that's ego. And I get it, Brock doesn't owe Oba anything. Brock doesn't have to be a mentor. But if you're going to position yourself as the standard bearer for what it means to be a top guy in WWE, then you have a responsibility to the business to help create the next generation of top guys. Otherwise, what happens when Brock retires? The business suffers because veterans spent more time protecting their spots than building new stars. On the flip side, Oba does need to understand that confidence is good, but presumption is dangerous. Walking up to Brock Lesnar and talking about carrying torches before you've even had your main roster debut is bold to the point of being naive. Here's the approach Oba should have taken. "Mr. Lesnar, I've watched your career since I was a kid. You set a standard that I'm working every day to reach. I'm not saying I'm there yet, but I'm hungry to prove I belong. I'd appreciate any advice you might have for me." That's respect without submission. That's confidence without arrogance. That's how you approach a legend when you're trying to make a good impression. But we also have to give Oba some place here. He's in his 20s, he's been unstoppable in NXT, and he's excited about his future. Was he a bit cocky? Sure. Does that mean he deserved to be publicly humiliated? I don't think so. The truth, like most truths in complicated situations, is somewhere in the middle. Brock has a point about levels and earning respect. Oba has a point about deserving encouragement rather than dismissal. Both men could have handled this better. And ultimately, whether this helps or hurts Oba's career depends entirely on what he does next. If he lets this break his confidence and he comes to the main roster tentative and scared, Brock will have been proven right. But if he uses this as motivation, comes to Raw or SmackDown with a chip on his shoulder, and proceeds to tear through the roster like a man possessed, then this confrontation will be remembered as the spark that ignited a Hall of Fame career. The ball is entirely in Oba Femi's court now. Now, let's talk about what everyone really wants to know. What if these two actually wrestled? Because realistically, that's where this is heading, right? WWE isn't going to let this tension just fade away. They're going to capitalize on it. So let's fantasy book this for a second. Scenario 1, the passing of the torch match. This happens at WrestleMania. Oba has been on the main roster for 6 months, he's racked up impressive wins, maybe he's even won a mid-card championship. He's proven himself to everyone except Brock Lesnar. Brock comes back for his annual WrestleMania appearance, and this time, instead of facing a Roman or a Bobby Lashley, he agrees to face Oba. The story writes itself. Can Oba prove he belongs on Brock's level? The match would be brutal, physical, everything you'd expect from two monsters colliding. Brock would dominate early, proving his point that experience matters, but then Oba would show heart, resilience, and that undeniable hunger that only young lions have. In my booking, Oba doesn't win clean, but he doesn't lose clean either. Maybe Brock wins by countout after Oba refuses to stay down, requiring Brock to incapacitate him outside the ring. Oba loses the battle, but wins the war by proving he can hang with the beast incarnate. Post-match, Brock extends his hand. Oba, battered and bloody, shakes it. Respect earned. Torch officially passed. The crowd goes nuts. Perfect WrestleMania moment. Scenario 2, the shocking upset. This is the risky one, but hear me out. Oba's main roster debut happens, he's inserted into a major storyline immediately, and within 3 months he's challenging for a world championship. Right before his title match, Brock returns and says Oba doesn't deserve the opportunity. This leads to a match at a big pay-per-view. Winner gets the title shot. Everyone expects Brock to win. Oba is the massive underdog. But in a shocking finish, maybe Oba catches Brock with his finish out of nowhere, pins him, and gets the 3 count. The wrestling world explodes. Did Oba just beat Brock Lesnar? How? Why? This immediately launches Oba into the stratosphere. He's not just a prospect anymore. He's the man who beat the beast. The risk here is obvious. You're potentially damaging Brock's aura. But if done right, with Brock taking Oba lightly and Oba capitalizing on that overconfidence, it could work. Scenario 3, the mentor program. Plot twist, they team up. WWE realizes the money isn't in them fighting, it's in them as their unstoppable duo. Paul Heyman manages both of them. They become a two-man wrecking crew, dominating the tag before eventually turning on each other down the line. This gives Oba the rub of being associated with Brock, helps rebuild their real-life relationship, and creates two separate payoff moments, the run as a team and the eventual split. Personally, I think Scenario 1 is the way to go. It protects Brock while elevates Oba, and it gives the WWE Universe the cathartic moment they want, seeing Oba earn Brock's respect. But regardless of how WWE books it, the in-ring matchup itself would be incredible. Two powerhouses, both capable of devastating offense, both legitimately athletic despite their size. It's a dream match we didn't know we needed until this confrontation happened. So where does this leave us, WrestleScope family? The Brock Lesnar versus Oba Femi situation has given us one of the most genuine, controversial moments in recent WWE history. No script, no approval from creative, just two wrestlers with different perspectives having a real moment that exposed the tensions that exist between generations in this business. Is Brock on a different level than Oba right now? Absolutely. Has Oba earned the right to be mentioned in the same breath as Brock Lesnar? Not yet, but could he get there? That's the million-dollar question. What we know for sure is this: Oba Femi is talented, hungry, and now more motivated than ever. He's got something to prove, and the best performances in wrestling history have come from people with something to prove. Brock Lesnar, whether he intended to or not, might have created his own successor. By dismissing Oba publicly, he's given him a villain to overcome, and in wrestling, having someone to prove wrong is the best motivation there is. Think about it. Stone Cold became Stone Cold partly because he had a chip on his shoulder about WCW firing him. Punk's greatest work came when he felt disrespected by WWE. Daniel Bryan's Yes movement happened because fans believed he was being held back. Sometimes the best thing that can happen to a wrestler's career is someone telling them they're not good enough. Brock just gave Oba that fuel. Over the next year, we're going to see if Oba Femi has what it takes to back up his confidence. Can he succeed on the main roster? Can he handle the pressure of live crowds every week? Can he deliver in big match situations? Can he cut promos that connect with millions of viewers, not just the NXT faithful? If the answer to those questions is yes, then Brock's words will look foolish, and Oba will have accomplished something incredible, proving the beast wrong. If the answer is no, then Brock was simply being honest, protecting the business by not handing out respect to someone who hadn't earned it yet. Either way, this story is far from over, and that's what makes it so compelling. But I want to hear from you. Do you think Brock Lesnar was right to dismiss Oba Femi?
Or was this a veteran burying a rising star for no good reason? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and don't hold back. I read every single comment, and I want to know where you stand. If you're Team Brock, let me know why you think veterans should make young talent earn every bit of respect. If you're Team Oba, tell me why you think Brock should be building up the next generation instead of tearing them down. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into one of wrestling's most controversial moments, make sure you smash that like button. Seriously, it helps the algorithm show this video to more wrestling fans who need to see this debate. Don't forget to subscribe to WrestleScope and hit that notification bell, because we're going to be following this story as it develops. When Oba makes his main roster debut, when Brock returns, when these two inevitably cross paths again, you know we're going to break it all down for you. Share this video with your wrestling friends. Get them in on the debate. Let's blow up the comment section and show WWE that we're paying attention to this storyline, whether they planned it or not. This is WrestleScope, and remember, in wrestling, reality is often more entertaining than fiction. And right now, the reality is that Brock Lesnar and Oba Femi just created the most compelling story in sports entertainment. I'll see you in the next one. Now get in those comments and let's have this debate.